And we're live, and I'm very, very happy to introduce you to tonight's surprise guest, who does not need an introduction because we know him all very well from the Let's Talk show, from the Center One Therapy. Avi Benmordechai himself here, not just live virtually, but here in person, doing this show together with me. We're going to be answering questions that you sent to me anonymously. Now, it's been a while, Avi. How long has it been? Like almost 2 years?
It's been a long time.
It's been a very long time since Avi and I had a show. I have to tell you, Avi's a busy guy. Now, I'm busy. A lot of us are busy, but Avi has the busy with a capital B-U-S-Y. So when I call Avi and I say, Avi, are you going to be able to go live? And he agreed. That's really, really special. Thank you so much, Avi, for making time to do this. It was very, very important for me to get on with somebody like Avi, because I want to make sure that when we answer questions, it comes across sensitive, it comes across without any judgment, and that's why I think Avi is perfect for this position tonight to answer the questions that we got. I will ask you, I'm going to ask Avi to connect me to the comment section, or my husband to give me a phone so that I can keep an eye on the comments as they come in. But I'm going to ask you, the viewers, if you find this video to be helpful during the live show, please share it with others, because the entire purpose of tonight's show is really to raise awareness. When I put the question mark about the anonymous questions, and I started to get real life situations, I realized that as a whole, we do have, unfortunately, an issue where we're maybe misusing the nature of social media, the intentions behind it, and other questions which we're going to address. But I'm not going to take too much time. I think we have a lot of questions to cover tonight. We're going to try to cover as many as possible. If you want to ask your own questions towards the end, obviously you won't be anonymous. Please, we will look at them as well and try to answer them during the live show as well. Avi, how have you been? Tell us what you've been up to. Congratulations, by the way. Avi just had a baby boy, Mazal Tov. I'm so happy for him. He's a busy dad of Baruch Hashem, Bli Ein Hara, 2 children, a newborn. So it's really, really, really exciting, Avi. I'm so happy for you and your wife.
Thank you so much, Yocheved. This is so exciting to be back. I do have a crazy intense schedule, which I love, by the way. But when Yocheved calls, you know you drop everything and you come.
Wow, thank you.
You should just know it's such an honor for me to be here. And I genuinely missed it. I really enjoy this. For me, this is a hobby. I love connecting with you guys. I love hearing about your stories and really about your life. You know, it's fascinating for me. Even just like the way humans work, or the way the brain works, and everybody's, life experiences. It's a learning lesson truly for me. So when we do this, we get to discuss like real life events, and I learned from this woman, So I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you,
you told me there's some pretty wild questions that they asked, so let's jump into it.
Yes, because some of the questions that came in, again, just to reiterate, everything you're going to be hearing tonight, this is to our opinions on how we want to address them. If it offends anybody, if anybody thinks we're talking about them, we're not. We have nobody in mind when we're answering these questions. So please do not take anything offensively. It's not meant to hurt anybody. We just have to answer the questions for whatever they come. Can I have your phone, Zalman?
Do you want this one?
Okay, let me just get a phone. Okay. So Bella says she's very, very happy to see us. Thank you so much, Bella.
Hi, Bella.
All the way from Washington. We love her. Bella is amazing.
Bella, next time, this is an invitation for you. Next time you're in town, you need to join us, and we need to do a three of us, a live podcast.
And Mona Lisa's joining us as well.
Very
Thank
cool.
you so much, Lisa, for joining us. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate that you're joining us tonight as well. All right, first question. We have a bunch of questions here, but the one that I'm going to address first. Ready, Avi?
Let's do it.
Okay. What happened to the olden days where people picked up the phones and resolved their issues and differences over the phone? Why do people have to use social media to weaponize others, to blast someone or put someone in a spot? This is a very super powerful question. I must tell you, I was actually very happy to get this question because I realized I'm not the only one feeling this way. And we have Boris Abayev with us tonight as well. Hi, Boris. Thank you for watching. So I am very pleased with this question. I would love to hear Avi's thoughts first, and then I'm going to share my thoughts. And if you want to answer, please share your thoughts as well.
First of all, did something happen in the community that I'm not aware of?
So we always have something happening in the community.
Okay.
We have a lot of platforms, my own included. We have a lot of different groups. And when a video is being published, sometimes it goes viral in a way where it's being misused. And people understand things differently. Some people are very sensitive. They may, address things inappropriately, which is understandable. So nothing new happened. I think we have this issue. It's been going on for a while already, but I guess it's time to address it.
What do you mean by misused?
So people feel that sometimes we're using social media as a platform to degrade, to bash, to put down others. And sometimes we do it with proper intentions. We're really doing it because we want to raise awareness on something, but it becomes almost like either it's like, if you wanted to use it for the Jewish term, like Lashon Hara is involved, gossip is involved. A lot of times you can feel embarrassed even when somebody calls you out on something publicly. So I think this is where it's coming from. And that's what I think this question is here to ask. How do we avoid that?
As you were talking, honestly, I think that the common denominator, let's take it as really deep, right? Let's not stay on the superficial level. Let's go really to the core. Why are people doing this? Because genuinely, I believe that people are in pain, right? The saying, we all know the saying, hurt people, right? Or misery loves company, right? So, for example, if a person is hurting, if they're in pain, if they feel like they were wronged, that's where it's coming from. Even if you think about our own lives, sometimes when a person looks or comes across as angry, really, anger is just a mask for pain. Right? If let's say your spouse or your kid or even you come off as angry, really, if you take a step further and look deeper inside, why am I acting like this? Or why is the person acting like this? Really, it's coming from a place of pain. So like, for example, if a person goes online, right? Now we're talking about two separate things. Straight up bullying, right? Like to hurt someone. But I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if really that happens within our community where if we don't like something or we want to just tear somebody down, we'll just go just for giggles and just, bring somebody down. I think what you're referring to is if, let's say, somebody felt wrong, somebody went to a restaurant and the person didn't, treat them or take care of them nicely, or, in our culture, weddings, you pay so much money for weddings and people feel so strongly about it, so they're going to go online and they're going to share their opinions. I'll tell you honestly, in many ways, our people right now are very much, I should say, very intellectual. They're deep thinkers, and they also, now we learn this concept of boundaries. We don't want people to take advantage of us. Years before, oftentimes people wouldn't necessarily stand up for themselves, or they would feel like if they were wrong, oh well, this is just what it is. But now we live in a world where we have the ability to stand up for ourselves, and yeah, maybe unfortunately the delivery is not done the way it should be, right? Maybe they go online and just share their feelings without really thinking how it can affect another person. But really, I think that's where it's coming from, a place of pain.
That's a great point, Avi. What I really think, so there's a few things my thoughts on this. Number one, it should never be done. If a person wants to say something, I think we're all entitled to our opinions. I'm very opinionated. You could see I've made many posts in the past. I've addressed many topics in the past. The only difference is if you're addressing a topic, which I've done myself many times, we have to make sure we don't necessarily write a name. We don't necessarily put a handle. We don't necessarily bash a restaurant or a certain DJ member or a certain chef, for example. You want to make sure every single person is entitled to their opinions. That's number one. But when you start to actualize names or associations or groups, and specifically you're trying to target a specific entity, that's when it becomes out of line. Because you're really not realizing, number one, let's take into consideration, we don't know the mental state of people. Not everybody's strong enough to go through something like this. Your innocent call you out, which is true, can really cause a lot of mental damage to the person who's not strong enough. They can't handle the pressure of now so many people coming at them. So we got to take into consideration that every single one of us is not built the same way. Second point I want to make. When you're going on social media, and this is what I've had to learn for the last 5 years, and I'm sure at some point Avi learned that as well. When you put yourself on social media, and I want to say this to all of you watching, especially the young generation, be prepared for something like this. Be prepared that when you're out there and you expose yourself and you share an opinion and you share a thought process, it is no longer yours. It is out there for the world. So be prepared that somebody will not align with that. And just as you had the right to come on with your thoughts, somebody else is going to come on with their thoughts. And if you're not strong enough that doesn't make it right or wrong, but it's just a two-way street. If you're coming on with your thoughts and your ideas, be prepared, somebody will go with theirs, which will not align together with yours. And if you cannot handle the pressure and it makes you upset and annoyed, which is very normal, think to yourself, is social media the right platform for me? Because it may not be. If you're posting a picture, remember, it's out there for the world to see. If you're not comfortable with getting criticized, not liked, nasty comments, don't post your pictures. Because remember, not everybody likes chocolate and not everybody likes vanilla. We all have different flavors. So when you post something, be prepared that you may not be for everyone. So that's my take on this.
But going back to it, let's say, why don't we call like before? Here's the thing. First of all, a person, whenever you go on social media, I am breaking it down why people would do something like this. And I want to hear your comments. What do you really think?
Somebody actually wrote their opinion.
Let's hear.
So Sarah, she said, "Hi, I hope you remember me. I know exactly who you are, yes. The problem is that people hear things and don't know if it's true or not true. They don't verify. They jump to conclusions. They should hear the person out and find out why they're saying this instead of embarrassing the person." Absolutely correct. That's what I think you were trying to get at, Avi. We have to stop addressing it via social media and address it privately with that person one-on-one. 100% agree. What do you think?
But here's the thing also. It could also be that sometimes people feel, and I'm going to play two parts. I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. What I'm going to say is sometimes people feel like they need to defend their own character, and whenever things are spread around them within the community, they feel like I'm going to go on social media and say all these things to protect myself and to protect my business, and that's why they do what they do. Because what happens on a phone call, nobody else hears. So that's, I don't know, that's
You're saying more for defense purposes.
Yeah, it could be for, in the end of the day, if you really think about it, we're all trying to defend ourselves. This is where it's all coming from. When you're in a good place and you're not looking behind you and you're not paying no attention to all the people who are talking about you, you won't go online. You won't stand up for yourself because you know what your values are. You know who you are as a person, and you don't give power to people to control the narrative of who you are because you know what your values are. But when you feel like you're under attack and you need to go and defend yourself and it matters to you because you think it's important, so yeah, that's why people go online and try to defend themselves.
I agree with that too, but sometimes the people will go online not necessarily because it's somebody triggered something in themselves to defend themselves, but they're going out there to share their version of the story. I agree. We have the right to share our opinions, our story, our thoughts, but my idea, if anybody wants to hear it, if you want to hear my 2 cents, please don't put people's names. Right. Don't put restaurant names. Don't put chef names. Take away specifics. You want to say something, you're entitled, but there's no need. First of all, let me tell you something. Everybody's going to already know who you're talking about. That's the real truth, okay? Somehow, somewhere, people can figure it out without specifics. So when you start putting a specific name, idea, title, what happens is people already are going to, those that didn't know, that wouldn't figure it out, are now for sure going to know. And people, we don't need this. We don't need this. We need to really show each other love, consideration. And I think by accident, we're all guilty maybe in some, I probably might have done that by accident over the 5 years. Maybe I touched somebody or I said something. We all have to work on ourselves. That was the first question. I think it's a very, very important question.
I want to mention, so you know what this reminds me of, this question, because we're comparing the past to the present. Years ago, people would just knock on your door and say, "Hi, I'm here, hello." Now I feel like the culture shifted a little bit, where we have to text before, call before we come. What are your opinions about that, and what's your opinion about that?
I have to say, I like when somebody calls and texts before they come. So I can't say I don't like it. I like it because I'm not always ready. Sometimes, I might not be dressed for it. I might be resting, whatever it is. So I am for call and text before you come.
I'm curious, like, if you would ask your mom, if you would interview your mom and you would say, "Mom, what was it like living in the house and people would just randomly knock on your door and say, 'Hi, I'm here'?" How would she respond to that?
What would your mom say? I have no idea.
I mean, what is she gonna do? She's just gonna accept it and be within that space of okay, now I have to host and be okay with being uncomfortable, because oftentimes it's like you said, what if I'm not ready? What if I don't have stuff to put on the table that is gonna appeal to them? So there can be so many thoughts of this, but it was an interesting thought. How, if we're comparing the past to the present, a lot of things have changed. We're not living in the past. We're evolving. We're changing, and we're shifting.
Another very important. She says, if you go on social media, people should learn how to talk and present themselves professionally, but they should. But their parents, they should, because their parents didn't teach them manners. So I do agree. In general, any type of public speaking should be done very professionally, so that the message can be delivered properly. That's the only reason. If you want a message to be delivered properly where people can understand you, you have to, it's a skill. It's a skill. Two people can say the same thing, but if you're not delivering the same message, somebody can totally misconstrue and totally say what you didn't even mean to say, because that's how they understood you.
Who said that?
Sarah.
Sarah, what do you mean by professionally? Because here's the thing, let's be real. This is social media. People like to engage. People are not listening to a TED Talk, right? So if it's going to be super professional, it can also come across a little boring. So what do you mean by professional if this is a place where people show up as themselves?
That's true.
That's my 2 cents. I don't know.
I agree with that. That's very smart, Avi. This is why I have you on the show. Another one. So this is actually very similar to the first question, but again, it's going to be a piggyback. So I'm going to just go ahead and read the second question. Again, she says, why Bukharians? Let's get Bukharians out. It can be Ashkenazim, it can be Persians, it can be Americans generally. But in this case, I'm going to just read to you the way the question is being posted. Why are Bukharians not united? Why do we put each other down? What do you think needs to be done? Rabbis go against each other. Restaurant owners putting each other down, and even singers are doing it. Is this a way for being greedy or envious? How quickly we forgot what happened on October 7th.
Wow. All right, take it away, Kevin.
I was going to say you should take it away.
I think somebody asked us what the topic is for tonight's
Hi, Milana.
live.
Milana's joining us all the way from Arizona.
Oh my, is that Milana who I think it is? Milana. Milana's brilliant.
I know Milana.
We
had a
have
show
to.
with Milana.
We have to have a show together. We've been trying to have a show for the longest time.
She wants to go again. Come on, we gotta make it happen.
Okay, Milana. Whenever you come to, no, it's just been so tough with my schedule. We recently had a baby, Milana. We have to have a live. For those of you who don't know Milana, special shout out to you because she's a woman of wisdom. But
I know.
what I want to share is what topic we're talking about. What topic are we talking about?
So we're addressing anonymous questions that came onto my page. I posted an Instagram box for anonymous questions. I addressed some of them already, but then these are the questions that I felt I couldn't just address with a sentence or two. So I'm reading them. They're coming from the viewers, and we're addressing it. That's what it's about.
Right. All right. So let's see. Can I see this for a second?
Yes.
Why Baharians are not united? Why we always put each other down? What do you think needs to be done? Rabbis going against each other, restaurants owners putting each other down, and even singers. Is this the new way of being greedy or envy? How quick we forget what happened to October 7th. I agree with you. You know, it really, we're only saying Baharians, or maybe the question was Baharians because possibly it was asked by a Baharian person. And also, this is really, most of the people who are watching this are Baharian. This is our culture. But really, if you look at any culture, it happens everywhere, no matter what background you come from. It happens in any place that you live, whether it's in Queens, in Five Towns, in Brooklyn, Baharian, Ashkenaz, Persian, Syrian. It happens everywhere. But really, the question is here, why are we not united? Why do you think we're not united?
So I think we are united. However, there's two things that ruins people in general. Okay. And I don't think I'm saying it. I think it's like a biblical thing as well. Fame and money will ruin people. Okay? If you want to see who people are, they say give them money, see what happens. Make them famous, see what happens. Unfortunately...
Wow, you're pretty famous. You have a pretty good name.
I wasn't finished, Avi. Unfortunately, when people start climbing a ladder, and they get to a certain point, they don't necessarily always use their fame properly.
So Yocheved, tell us, how do you deal with all this fame?
Come on, Avi. It's not about me.
Come on, tell us. Like, guys, don't you want to know? Like, let's put her in the hot seat for a second. We clearly know you're a very like. Can we turn this into like?
This is not about me.
Should we hang on? Should we turn this into like a therapy session with Yocheved and put her in the hot seat? Let's do this. You ready?
I think he's used to working.
It's
time for Avi to work still. We're still on
Wait,
work
what did she
hours.
say? She said, "Girl, who is more famous than you?" That's true. You are pretty famous. Okay, so here we go. So Yocheved, what's it like being super famous, where we know you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching you? And I know she hates this, but she's gonna kill me afterwards. She hates this. But so many people watch you, and I can imagine, you know, it definitely puts a lot of pressure because there's a lot of eyes on you, and you have to naturally there's like a sense of like you have to be a certain way because so many eyes are on you.
It's difficult because again, you always want to present yourself in a way you're still human, okay?
Right.
People are human, so sometimes people think, oh, if you're out there, especially if you're talking about how to be a better person, then you have to be perfect at all times. Absolutely not true. Because like I always say, angels are up there. There's no angels over here. We're all working progress because we're all just trying to teach others. But how do we teach others? Sometimes by talking, by sharing something, you're trying to be a better version of yourself.
Somebody actually said, but she's also so humble. So those of you who don't know Yocheved on a personal level, let's make her day today. So,
no, I don't want this to help you. Honestly, I want to help.
Those
I
of
want
you,
to answer these questions.
Just hang on a second. Okay. Those of you who don't know her, actually, on a personal level, she happens to be also very humble. So tell me the truth. No, I'm not trying to fluff your feathers, but tell me for real. How do you manage fame and being humble and grounded?
I'll be very honest with you. Honest. I don't consider myself famous. So I think that's number one. I don't walk around thinking I'm famous. I don't walk around thinking I'm some celebrity. I don't. I really, truly don't. And that's why when I actually see people, I hide. Because I'm like, okay, by accident, they might know me. I don't know what they're talking about. This part of what I do is so... I'm like out of my comfort zone. Not that, no, I'm very comfortable with this, but I mean like my entire like career goes out, you know, I'm a physician assistant. That's really what I do for a living. I forget that I'm a PA, and sometimes I forget even that I'm a mother and a wife. Like I'm in a different zone, you know, I'm just me on a level where I just simply truly enjoy this. So that's why when people associate this with me being famous, it's not like that because I'm not doing it for that reason. I truly enjoy connecting with all of you, and everything I share are lessons that I go through, or I hear people calling me, or I read, and I just simply enjoy. But thank you, Avi, for that.
I think we made the right person famous.
You're so funny. No, I appreciate it, Avi.
Right,
so I was saying, fame and money can really ruin people. And when we don't utilize those two things properly, that's when really everything gets messed up. Because look, I'll tell you the truth. Even before I went live today, I spoke to my very good friends Bella and Lisa. And both of them are pretty famous. They are. In the Bukharian world, they're both very famous. Liza's very well known. Bella's very well known. And I want to just tell you, genuinely, like, I never asked them for any type of help or advice. Honestly, I met them through social media, but when you have another person reaching out to you and simply just trying to, support you and be there for you, and they don't consider you a threat to anything. They're just genuinely there because they're helping you and supporting you. Or even Esther, my friend. We're both PAs. We both do Hali events. We're both social media speakers. Or you, Avi, right? And I can call Esther anytime and be like, Esther, I have an event tonight. What do you think I should talk about? We do the same thing. You can technically think we're competing because we do the same thing. We even work in the same hospital. Everything is the same. But it doesn't work like that. We call each other to boost each other, to motivate each other, to help each other, even like charging. How much? What do you think? It's not like, oh, everything is not a competition at all. And when you work in that type of an environment, and when you start living like that, your competitors become your friends, actually. And you no longer have to look at them as competitors. Unfortunately, not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that. There are people who are also speakers and popular and DJs and this and that, but they will never acknowledge that you do the same thing, or they will never reach out to you, or they will never shoot you a text or like you or comment on something. And that's when you feel like, wait a minute, is this a competition? Are we like really at each other? Are we trying to get to each other? Like the last time I checked, I wasn't competing. I wasn't going in your lane. Why are you behaving this way? And that's when it becomes a turnoff. But if we can really help each other, a restaurant owner trying to send customers to another restaurant when they're booked, with each other, it helping. A rabbi, I know, for example, I'm not shouting him out because he's my brother. I'm not. But in general, like my brother, when he's not available to host a yeshua, for example, right? I have seen it myself, so I know like he'll be like, call this and this rabbi, he'll do it for you, When you see stuff like that, and I'm sure that everybody has challenges, when you see stuff like that and people really helping each other and being like, why don't you call this one? If I can't host an event, or if let's say my charge is something that people feel like it's too much for them, right? I don't take offense. I'm like, listen, I totally hear you. I think it's expensive too. I understand. Why don't I give you somebody that's less expensive than me? Why don't you call this and this and this person? I actually help them. This is not a shout out for me. I'm just giving you an example so we can understand how to be better as people. That I can try to help them find somebody that's going to be within their budget, because I myself know what it is when I have to hire somebody and it's out of my budget range. I know what it means to be in that position. I might want to hire him because he's the best, for example, DJ, but he may not be in my budget. I can't be upset at him. He deserves whatever he wants. But if he can help me find somebody just as, similar maybe and less expensive, it's just so much more plausible. And there's so much more blessings. There's so much more unity. There's so much more togetherness. And you can see each other at a party and sit together at the same table without feeling like you're enemies. It's so nice and beautiful. What do you think, Avi?
Well, first of all, very well said. This reminds me of, and I don't think I ever shared this publicly, but, growing up, I went to an Ashkenaz school, and I went to Ashkenaz camps, and we're conditioned. Where we are, that's how we're conditioned. And naturally, you don't like your culture. You don't like, growing up, I don't love the Bukharian mentality or the Bukharian culture. Honestly, I'm sharing with you. But here's where everything took a turn. You ready? When I was dating my wife, it was the night my parents came to meet her parents. And here was a test. I didn't know this was a test. But they made pluf, okay? And the grandfather, he took the pluf with his fingers, and he's like, all right, you gotta take this pluf.
I hate that.
And in my mind, I'm like, no, wait, dude, you are not doing this right now.
Someone likes to do that. Don't say that.
But a part of me is like, all right, if you're not gonna have that pluf, number one, you're gonna disrespect him. You're gonna embarrass him. And number three is I want to get the girl, and I want to show him that I'm a pretty flexible guy, so I want to do something that can warm his heart, and I'm gonna get the girl and seal the deal. Long story short, I took the plov, I enjoyed the plov, and I don't know how much I enjoyed it, but I took the plov, and I got the girl, and shortly after we were married. But really, why am I sharing this with you is because as time went on, and as I got a little bit older, and really took some time to appreciate the culture, to be honest, I love the Bukharian culture. I think there is so much warmth. I think there is so much unity. There is nothing like the Bukharian culture.
Agreed.
There's something about, you come to a Bukharian home and you feel like, this is my blood. You're my people. So yeah, it's so easy to point fingers and talk dirty about one another and bring each other down. But if you really look at the core of who we are, we're amazing in every single way. We love to host. We love to have people. We like beautiful things. We love to party. We love life. That's the takeaway. We love life. We are people who love life. And isn't that such a beautiful thing? So if we stop for a moment and really appreciate what we have, it can really make us feel a little bit lighter, and also like take a moment to reflect on our upbringing and what our parents and grandparents went through to really bring us here. So even that, breaking the whole generational traumas. Our parents, our grandparents, they went through many traumatic episodes. Our generation here now, we're so lucky to be able to have these luxuries and privilege. Really, if you think about it, we are so privileged. Our past generations, they were so busy with emigrating and coming over here. One year I was a head counselor of seniors 65 and over. It was in upstate for 2 weeks, and it was a camp, a sleepaway camp for seniors. It was the most interesting thing. It was the last day of camp.
Okay.
And the people the workers who were taking the luggages and putting it back in the truck, they're like, we don't understand. Why are these luggages so heavy? When they came, they were so light, but they're so heavy. So one of the workers opened up the luggage, and guess what he saw? He saw, like the stuff that you put on the table, like salt and pepper. Mm-hmm. The salt and pepper.
Shakers?
The packets. Okay.
Interesting.
Little jams. Toilet paper, tissues, any type of thing that they were able to get their hands on. If you look at this like from a psychological standpoint, and most of the people did that, where is that coming from? That's coming from a place of not having enough, needing to get more, needing to hold on to something. If that's the type of life that they lived, imagine what type of traumas that they went through, of feeling like they're not going to have enough, and what that does to a person. So let's think about our life right now, that we don't think like that. We're in such a different place. We're in a much healthier place, and really this is a privilege. So if we focus our mindset on really looking at the benefits of our culture, I think it'll make a whole difference in how we see things.
You're right. I have to address this question by Boris Abayev because I don't know if he's still watching, but Boris, I just saw this question, so I'm going to address it. It says here, I have a question. What's good, what's bad to come on Facebook and comment anonymously saying truth, but is basically, from what I understand, this is what he means, he wants to know, isn't it better to just come on Facebook with your name or sit behind this anonymous and ask a question? He says, what's the point of being anonymous? Just come out there, say what you want to say without having to be anonymous. If I understand the question correctly, he wants to know our thoughts. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Yes, Boris.
Here's the thing, Boris, it would be wonderful if a person can come and share. But perhaps maybe the person is really afraid of judgment. Maybe the person wants to be vulnerable and ask a genuine question. That's a pretty good question that they asked. But maybe it's because of criticism. Maybe it's because of judgment. Unfortunately, many people don't feel safe to be online publicly. Do you know how many people I speak with who want to so badly go online and be a public person, open up an Instagram page or Facebook page for their business, let's say, and they say, I'm so afraid that I'm going to be judged and people will see me, not the way I want to be shown. So there's so much that's there, that why people don't really say what they want to say openly. It takes a lot of confidence, I feel, and also turning off that inner critic. If you believe what's inside and what you want to say and you have the ability to say it, that's an amazing thing. But unfortunately, not for everybody is it so much strengthened.
You know, a lot of people, Boris, they really don't have confidence. They really don't have confidence. And I even know somebody I was having a conversation with, and she says, oh my God, I commented something on Bukharski Tojo Plachet group, and I got 5 likes. And for her, 5 was like 500. And I thought to myself, wow, she's so proud of those 5 likes, which means this is a person who probably didn't get validated all their life so much. And they, for them, this 5 likes, this validation gave them so much power. Like, wow, I said something that people agreed with. Yeah. And then there are some people, they feel like, what if it's the other way around? They may ask a question or they may say a comment that people will bash them for, and it's going to crush them. And they'd rather not even get there. They still want to share their thoughts because they feel like deep down they also have what to offer. They also want to be heard, but they don't want people to come at them. That's one way. However, there are some, I will say this maybe inappropriately, cowards. They are cowards that will come on Facebook, use the anonymous option to say something disgusting, to say something degrading, to ask an insulting question, to bash a community member overall, and they're cowards. Because they know that if they really believe truly in what they're saying, and they're so passionate about this, well then come out and just show who you are. Don't hide your face, because who hides their face? Somebody who's afraid. So that means you're not as brave as you thought you were, because if you were, you wouldn't have to hide yourself. So yes, in that part, I think it's disgusting and it's being misused, and it should not give people the right to think they could say whatever they want, utilize it for whatever purposes they want, and get away with it. But are we going to change it? No, we're not going to change it. We're not going to change things even through this live. We're not going to change things through like going and parading and making, because the way it is, people will still do what they want to do. Either you just have to, live with it, accept it, or it's just going to keep frustrating you, and it's not worth the frustration.
One second, we're not changing anything through this live? I thought we're changing the world.
I don't know. Maybe we'll change one person, but very hard to change people. Okay, now we're going to move on to a different topic. Okay, Avi, you ready?
I'm definitely ready. I want to hear your thoughts, guys. Do you think people can change? What do you guys think? I want to hear your comments. What do you think? Do you think people can change as an adult? What do you think? I want to see your comments. We're going to read it after.
Okay, this one. A random guy approached me at a store and asked if he can send me my resume. Is this weird?
Meaning if she can send him the resume?
No, he said if he can send me his resume.
Oh, okay.
Is this weird? Should I have given him my number? Now, as a guy, I'm going to ask you, Avi.
Yeah. Here's the thing, if earlier on we were talking about being old school, right? How did guys meet girls before? You just come up to them and say, hey, obviously you make small talk, and then after that you say, can I get your number? It would be great to take you out sometime, right? Just straight up like that. Now, it's not really done like that so much, especially, within our circles. So now there's a thing of a resume, and there's, people have a lot more boundaries up and like things done a certain way, which is understandable. But also, here's the thing. It takes a lot of courage to come up to a girl and speak to a girl and even ask for a number or ask for a resume. So, ladies, please, if you can, maybe be a little bit nicer to the guys. He might look macho and all tough and a big guy who looks confident, but maybe on the inside he might not be that confident, So don't be so hard on him. If he asks for a resume, and if you're in a place of wanting to date and maybe even want to get married, so that's what you want also. If you're not available, then say you're not available. Or if you're not interested, say you're not interested. But this whole game of playing so hard, I'll tell you something, not to make it about me. But one of the things I wanted to share personally, because we're not in session now, right? I can tell you what's really on my heart, and I can share my personal life with you, right? So when I was dating my wife, we had a rule, right? It was, if I text you or call you, respond to me. If you can't respond, just let me know that you can't respond, and you'll call me at a certain time. And I will do the same thing to you. Let's not play this whole chasing game and play the whole mind games. Because in all honesty, we have an inner critic. If let's say we call and she doesn't pick up the phone, we think, maybe she doesn't like me, maybe she wants to dump me, maybe she doesn't want to talk to me, is something wrong with me, right? And vice versa. She's thinking the same thing. If he's not texting her back, she's thinking, that's it, he doesn't like me, he thinks I'm ugly, he thinks I'm no good for him, right? That we're going to break things off. So why? Why play these games? If we're in a place where we want to get married, we know so many single people right now who are really having a hard time of finding the right one. Why make it more harder for yourself? Right? So obviously it's much deeper here, but really, if you think about it, if this is what you want, put yourself out there too. And also at the same time, if you were hesitant to receive his resume, if he was an attractive person, you thought that might have been some chemistry, it also takes some guts to be vulnerable and say, yeah, sure, you can send me your resume. Maybe you were the one who was guarded and closed off. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I can't even have thoughts because I never went through this whole dating process. If my husband didn't approach me, didn't stalk me, I wouldn't be married to him.
Hang on.
It just wouldn't happen.
We don't want to do any stalking. But what she means by that, her husband was persistent, yes. Not a stalker. Let's just call it. We're on social media. We're not in our living room. I mean, we are in the living room, but you know what I mean.
That's right. Let's be politically correct.
Right, they were saying we need to be professional. We have to come off professional.
Don't be like that. Right. Yes, he was being persistent. So if that wouldn't happen, I wouldn't be married to the guy, okay? So yes, it worked. So that's why I have to say, we're in this and again, it worked for some people, doesn't work for everyone. Some people will be completely turned off by this, which is normal. If you're in the religious cycle, if you're very religious, yes, it's inappropriate for a guy to start talking to a girl, so they have a matchmaker in the middle, and then some girls who are looking for very religious boys who are sitting and learning, it's going to be inappropriate. They're going to feel like, what kind of very religious boy sitting and learning is just going to come up to a random girl? So if we negate those type of situations where there's religion involved and there's modesty involved, fine, I get it. Have a matchmaker in between, totally get it. But what I don't understand, honestly, I'm in a matchmaking group and I love it and I see a lot of resumes and I understand it's beautiful. But to be honest with you, I would never want to be involved in this getting married. If this is what I had to go through, bad enough I have to go find a job. To now go find a husband like that? No. But this is what became socially the norm. It's almost like saying, pick up the phone and call someone. We don't really do that anymore. We text because that became so normal. We don't necessarily bring invitations to people's houses anymore. We send them the picture on WhatsApp. That became normal. This too became normal. And whether we like it or not, we have to start accepting it because this is the new normal. However, yes, the young generation hates it. I have to tell you from my own children, I can't even imagine when they're going to start writing their resumes. It's awkward.
What do they hate?
The whole process. My son tells me, I don't really want to go through Shadchanim. And I understand him, but maybe eventually he's young. So he might have to at some point when he's very serious. Hopefully, he'll just find her without it. That's a blessing to me if you can do that without a Shadchan involved. Nothing against Shadchanim, but I feel like I didn't use a Shadchan. Did you have a Shadchan?
I did actually.
So, okay, we both had different experiences. But the point is, I personally think if a guy comes up to you and he doesn't do it in a very, he's not trying to bully you or trying to stalk you, that's the right word for this particular situation, then yes, don't be so hard on him. Don't start having, oh, he approached me, why is he approaching me, and he's so weird and I felt a certain way. Give him some slack.
Right.
Let's stop. Another thing I heard, I had a conversation with a teenager in my house, and I said to her, listen, I want to ask you, give me some examples of conversations that, that the guy had with you that was a turn off for you. And just one example, right? So, I had this guy, he was asking me questions about his relationship I have with his sister, and why am I not friends with her, and I thought that was very weird. It may be very weird. It may be very weird, but do we understand that on a date, guys or girls, they're so lost. They don't even know what to talk about. They're so confused. It may be the first or second date. They're not experienced yet. They want to just start any conversation randomly. They just want a conversation. They're not looking to be professionals in this. And if we as girls are going to be like, it's so weird. Why is he talking about his sister on my date? Because he doesn't know what else to talk about yet. He hasn't met you yet in that situation. Stop overthinking everything. Oh, he didn't come up to my house and he didn't walk inside, or this or that, or he walked inside the house and I told him to meet me outside. Maybe his parents raised him in a way where they said, make sure you say hi to her father, make sure you let him know what time you're going to be home. And she told you, no, you don't have to do that. But he's from a culture of his parents said, no, you're taking a girl out. Make sure you say to the father, yeah, yo prinisu damoy. Make sure you shake his hand. He was raised from that mentality.
Right.
Comes the girl, and I heard this, and she says, I don't understand this, but I specifically told him not to come upstairs, and he still came upstairs. Right, because we have different mindsets, and maybe they're not for each other, maybe, or maybe we have to really choose your battles. Today, this is your battle. What's going to be when you're getting married? We have such bigger battles to fight, and the young generation, unfortunately, is so clouded, is so clueless with what really is important in life, what really matters, that they pick on stupidity. And I feel bad. Genuinely, I feel so bad for the generation today, including my kids, because it's a hard process out there. You don't know. I hope and pray all of us as parents are really instilling in our children what is real importance in life. You know what real importance in life is, Avi? From many conversations?
I want to hear.
That you have to win your first million by age 30. That is important, apparently. And not just to one person. To many people. You have to reach your first million, okay, by 30. So this is so important.
Who sets these standards?
Oh, these young guys.
Cash advance?
I don't know what they do, but they have these standards. And no, not only cash advance, there are other guys, because they're being so brainwashed with what's considered important in life. So that's the guy's mentality now. Again, not everyone. I'm just saying the people I spoke to. That's the guy's standards. What's the girl standards? Girl standards, from what I come across, they don't like guys that are old-fashioned. Guys have to also get up and do A, B, C, D. And guys have to also contribute like a woman. There's such a thing.
What's old-fashioned?
No, they're saying that like the other way around. Like, what does that mean? That they can't wash dishes and they can't cook? And it's true.
What do you think about that?
I think that personally, I think we should all contribute. But there's a but. It's really not a man's responsibility. It's not. We have to still know. Not that we're respecting him.
You mean like traditional values?
Not even that it's traditional. It's just like there are things as a man that I'm not trying to be like, like a sexist or no, we're not doing gender discrimination. I just feel like growing up in general, you always were taught that there's somebody in the head of the house. If there is no head of the house, it's not necessarily a good thing even for your children, because somebody has to be the head. And there is equality. Help each other. If your wife is tired, go wash the dishes. If your wife is tired, go help her make dinner. But if we're going to start equalizing to the point where we're literally going to be like, I'm just going to leave it there and he better do it because I don't even have to communicate that. You expect to wake up in the morning and you better see those dishes clean. That's totally different. That's not already he's helping me. That's a total expectation. That's a total, like, if he doesn't do it, there's going to be World War III in the house. I mean, we're talking about, this is not a good example for our children either. Children should see a father helping his mother. And children should see a mother helping the father. They need to be from a culture of help each other, respect each other. Don't make like, oh, if your wife is tired, oh, who cares? I'm also tired. Why do I have to wake up and feed the baby? Style. Shouldn't be like that. Help each other. But when the woman, and I'm saying this to the woman specifically, yes, you should be treated with respect. Yes, you are important. And yes, you work just like the men do. Most of us, at least in 2025, we have to. Everything is very expensive. But if you're getting married with the mentality of, I'm not going to live like this because my husband better do A, B, C, D because we're in 2025, we're going to have problems. Because you're going to have a lot of men who are going to start being women. In which way? They're going to feel their masculinity is going to be lost. And the same thing goes for a man. If you're so into making your million by age 30, okay, I haven't hit my million with the bills I have to pay. It's going to disappoint you because you're constantly going to be running after that million. You're going to miss the real boat, which is having your children, raising your children, being there for your family. And that $1 million may not necessarily help you in the long run. So there's a lot of, a lot to take into consideration before even going into dating to really educate our children into what real importance in life is. So
just to be clear, do you agree with the shidduch resume or not?
My honest answer, no.
You don't agree with it.
But I am accepting it because now that I see what it's about and I'm reading it, it's interesting. It's really educating me. But for example, I'll give you an example. Maybe explain to me. You can explain. The shidduch resume has a lot of information, okay? Who my brother is, who my sister is, who they're married to, the job I'm doing, the school I graduated. All that is very important. I get it. We should know who the family is. However, how does that help me get to know this person better? At the end of the day, I still have to know this person. So I'm going to screen this resume. And let's say I noticed that his brother, I recognize this name. No, I don't like this brother. One time I saw him in the store. Sometimes it doesn't play in your favor either because, sometimes you come from a bad apple. It happens, okay? You might have come from a family who's not really 100% together, who has a reputation of not being at peace with each other. It happens. We don't necessarily choose our families, right? We're born into them. So sometimes you want people to just get to know you for who you are, fall in love with you for who you are first, and then they could see everything else about you. But sometimes this resume, I feel like, yes, as much as it gives you an eye-opener and an idea, some of these things in the resume will block you. Oh, what does he do for a living? Oh, he works in his father's shoemaking company. No, not for me. So what? I always say this. I became a physician assistant years after I got married. I married my husband, who was a barber. And I say I'm so thankful to God that I got my education after I got married. Because if I got it before, I probably, by accident, would have made the same mistake and say, I also want to marry an educated, what do I mean by educated? Degree. Not that my husband is stupid. He's not stupid. He's very educated in a lot of things in life. But I want a guy with a degree. Would that make him a good father, a good husband? Not necessarily. And we have this wrong mentality about how we judge people. Of course, financially, we have to be stable. I think that's very important. And tomorrow when I marry off my daughter, I want to make sure she's going to a husband who's going to financially be able to provide for her. It's not a selfish thing. It's important. You want them to be comfortable. But what's enough? Which part of how much we need is really enough? That's what we are forgetting. We don't need any more enough. We want luxury. There's a difference here. Right? What do you think?
You seem very passionate about this
topic. I'm so passionate. Because I honestly, Avi, you don't understand. When I see 16-year-old kids driving Mercedes, BMWs, all these expensive cars, listen, good for you. You can afford it. Go ahead with it. Not that I'm saying I'm not biased about it. But do you know you and me, how hard did we have to work to get that first expensive car? And how did it make us feel? We felt like, oh my God, I'm finally there, right? If you're exposed to this at 16, what's going to make you feel like you're finally there at 27, 28 in your life? You already have everything. So why should you even get excited about those small things later in life? Mm-hmm. Or I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment. I slept in the living room because I had no room in my house. This was my bedroom. The first house I bought with my husband, attached, nothing big. It's not a mansion, small, nice, beautiful, whatever house. It's enough. Of course, I would want a bigger house, but this is what I have, and that's it. Now, the kids are already growing up in houses like this. So now this is like, if you buy a house, it has to be detached with 7 bedrooms. It has to have a pool. It has to have this. It has to have that. But in order to achieve that, you have to work so much harder in life. And now all you're going to do is work. You're not going to enjoy life. You're just going to work now because you have to pay your bills.
So I guess what is your message then?
My message is, and I know I'm doing all the talking. Sorry, Ali.
No, I'm honestly, I'm blown away.
My message is for the parents. It really is for the parents. Not that our kids. Look, we as parents, our hands are tied. There are many things I say to my teenagers, and it's like back and forth. And I'm not saying that we can say whatever we want. Once they reach a certain age, yes, they do have their own thought process and they don't necessarily listen to us. However, as a parent, I am constantly instilling in my children, stop running after money. My son, if you see him on the street, he really drives a very old car. Old car. Now, that doesn't mean to say I cannot afford a very expensive car. I can't. He can afford his own very expensive car. He works. He can afford it. I gifted it to him because we had 2 beautiful new cars. My husband didn't need this car anymore. We gave it to him. We could have easily given him a very expensive car. And I always tell him the following. You can afford it. You can pay it. You have money. You're working. But the question is, do you really need it? You're not dating anybody right now. You're going literally to the gym, to work. If you need an expensive car, when you need it, you have our car. When you need it, you will get rid of this car. This can be in a year when you really need it. Do you really need it now? And I'm so proud of him, I am, as a parent, that he is driving it. I personally, to be honest, maybe even have been a little bit, I'm a little bit like, oh my God, I want to drive the car. Because I really want him as a child in life, when he gets that first expensive car, he's gonna cherish it and appreciate it and know what it means to go from this to that. But when we already give our children from a young age, go ahead, enjoy it. Why not? What's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. But you're teaching children not to appreciate the value of earning something. There is a gift of earning your degree. You work for it. The gift of earning something makes you feel happy that you did it. Not that here you got a gift and it was easy for you. I just feel a certain way about this, Avi.
I hear. I'm taking it all
so
in.
What are your thoughts after all my spiel?
I hear what you're saying. I have a little bit of a different thought process.
Okay.
For me, even like the way my mentality of the way I raise my kids, is really thinking of them as an athlete, right? What can I do if they are an athlete and I am their coach? Mm-hmm. What can I do to instill into them that they are a high value individual, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not only talking about materialistic things. I'm just talking about the way they talk, the way they behave, the way they dress, the way they comb their hair, the way they put themselves together, the way they wipe their face after they're dirty, the way they wash their face. Like all of these like little details, especially my kids are younger, right? All of these little details, I'll give you a simple example, right? Let's say my daughter, who is 3 years old, she's changing her clothing in the morning, and it's very common, very normal for kids to take off their clothes and throw it on the floor, right? She will not get out of the bathroom until she puts the clothing back into the hamper, right? So I won't say, go put it in the hamper. I'll say, oh, your shirt is on the floor. Where does it belong, right? And she'll say, oh, it goes over here. And sometimes she'll say, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I know, but we can't move on. We can't put on our other clothing if we don't finish this step first, right? So really, from early on, really getting them into a place where they can achieve that greatness. They can drive a nice car. They can have nice clothes. They can see themselves as a high value person. But with what you said was really putting in the work as well. Not getting everything on a silver platter and being spoiled. And that's really the difference between being spoiled and being privileged, right? Like right now, honestly, I commend the parents who are watching this, who have kids, and who put their kids into different clubs, whether piano club and karate club and dance club and art club and cooking club and this club and all of these clubs, and the parents who pay for it and they drive them there and they're investing into these children. I commend you and I take my hat off for you, because this is really what the kids need. You know, let's be real. One of the biggest things that many parents struggle with right now is children being addicted to the technology, right? Whether for boys, it can be, their PS5, or for girls, also watching and TVs and iPads and this. Yes or no? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So when you ask the parents, all right, you don't like that they're doing this, are you willing to invest in taking them to all of these other clubs? Or are you willing to put your phone down or get off work or be present with them and do activities with them? I am more than certain they would be happy to do that with you. Now you can tell me, oh, Avi, my kids don't want to have anything to do with me. Yeah, obviously now they don't, because for years they were attached to these electronics. Then now they already don't have a relationship with you. So in the end of the day, really, my mentality is more about building them up for greatness, for them to recognize that, number one, their confidence is where it's supposed to be, and they can achieve the highest of heights. My 2 cents. I
agree. You have total good points. Again, they should feel confident, meaning if it bothers them and they hate it, of course, I agree. Don't do it. If your child says, I really can't drive this type of car, don't force it upon them, because like you said, you don't want them walking around embarrassed next to their friends either. You don't want to driving, their self-esteem means a lot. I'm just talking about new car versus high-end car. That's my difference, right? Get a new car. Make a comfortable car. Why not? No, I'm not saying don't go and lease yourself, for example, a nice Hyundai, Toyota, Kia, whatever. There's new cars out there, but when it becomes luxury brand, luxury shoes, luxury belt, it's important. If you can afford it, if you're coming from that kind of, some people are wealthy. That's all they know. That's all the life that they live. They never buy anything other than that. Exception to the rule. It happens. But there are people that are coming from standardized homes, and this is the way they're this is what they're teach, not by accident. Sometimes children themselves are like this. The parents are not teaching the kid. They want to act. You have to still, as a parent, do everything possible to explain. I love designer. You should have one belt, or I love designer shoes. Have one good shoes. Have comfortable shoes, but don't prioritize that. Don't spend all your earnings, all your $10,000 that you have saved up just to please everybody. Let's just lavishly spend. That's not what life is about. One last question, because it's getting late and we have a lot of questions. Maybe we have to do a part 2, and then I want to read some comments. I know, Avi, this was a question you wanted to answer, so I'm going to read it. When I say answer, meaning when I screened you, you said this was a good question. So that's why I'm choosing this one particularly.
Sure.
I don't know why people are so secretive when it comes to good news. I found out my friend is almost due from social media. Where did this obsession come from?
Wow. Here's the thing. We have a person who's asking a question. Why are people being so secretive about what's going on in their life? Where did this obsession come from being secretive? I mean, using the word obsession, that already is a pretty strong word. But this is what I'll tell you. Aside from the science of it all, aside from me being a therapist, human to human, happens to be, yes, I am a religious guy. Yes, I'm actually a very spiritual person, right? So spiritually, right, aside from religion, because spirituality and religion are two separate things, spiritually, if you are somebody who shares good news, first of all, we don't know what the other person's intentions are. We don't know what their life circumstance is. We don't know the struggles that they're having, right? And also, not only that, if you're not sharing from a good place, for example, if let's say you just got a new business deal and you're so excited that you're gonna have a lot of money coming in, right? There's a saying where we want our friends to do good, but not better than us, right? What does that mean? Right? If you really think about it, we naturally, if a person is not working on themselves, we don't want to ever feel less than, right? So if we're having a lot of money coming in, we got a big business deal, right? We feel like, oh, look at me, I have status now, I'm on a higher level now, right? And because we have that inside feeling, we actually can lose our bracha. Right? If we're sharing all these news, we don't know what goes on in the person. So in this case, where the person was pregnant, we don't know what's going on, why she kept it private. I'll be honest with you, like even personally for us, for my wife and I, when we got pregnant, we didn't share it with anybody. For even our parents. I didn't share it with my parents. She didn't share it with her parents until she was about close to 4 months pregnant. And when we did share it with our parents, we only told them, look, we're sharing this with you because we want you to daven for us. We want you to pray for us that things will work out well. But please do not share this with anybody. Please keep these things private. There are reasons for it. There's bracha in things that are hidden. If you're going out there and you're sharing all of these things, people do have eyes. I'm not getting into like the superstition of it all, ayin hara and all that. I'm not a rabbi, But think of it like from person to person. We have an ego. Naturally, we can be haughty, right? So if we look at this as a lesson to humble ourselves and keep good things hidden, we never ever want to hurt somebody else. We don't know what somebody's going through. And in all honesty, do you know how many times people have miscarriages and they don't actually? There's so many. There's a million things that have to go right in order for a healthy baby to be born. For those of you who have babies, you know what I'm talking about, right? So for the minor thing of, God forbid, something not going right, a person has a miscarriage and now she has to go explain to everybody she didn't have this baby. There's been cases like this before. People sharing with their family, their friends, their community members. Oh, I'm pregnant. We're so happy, right? And then a couple of months down the line, they miscarried. And then what? Now they have to give all of these people the disappointing news. So here's the thing. Let's not judge other people for what they are sharing or what they're not sharing. First of all, why are you even being upset at this, right? Is it because you possibly don't feel satisfied with your life circumstance, so you're so focused on somebody else's life, do you know that actually that's avoidance? You're avoiding what's going on in your family. That is a defense mechanism that's happening to you. So when we project our own feelings onto somebody else, it's not about what's wrong with that person. It's really about where do we feel not sufficient enough. There's something not enough in our life where we feel like we're entitled to know about a person's life. We are absolutely not entitled. And perhaps even if it's your sister, even if it's your friend, even if it's your loved one, doesn't make a difference. There's a boundary for a reason. Not to push you away, but you never know what the person is struggling with. So next time, moving forward, if somebody doesn't share something with you, don't take it as a personal attack. You don't, even though you might think you know everything about that person, there are many chapters that people don't read out loud. That's my...
Esty, Mommy RN joined us. What's up, Esty? She was on our show once too. Remember, Avi?
She was. Esther, when are you coming back on? No, sorry, 1 second. But Esther is like next level celebrity. She's already Hollywood. We have to get through her agent and her manager and all those other people to get to Esther, because we all know Esther. She officially made it.
Get you back here.
But Esther, if you have 2 seconds for us, please come on the show.
Please, Esther, we're gonna have you again.
Let's talk.
I just had one with her recently.
Right.
So my 2 cents. Let's play devil's advocate, okay? As much as, yes, Avi, 100% agree. Some people, they have a hard time getting pregnant. They have a hard time. They have miscarriages. Some people, God forbid, had stillborn babies. There are reasons. Okay, fine. We get that. However, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay, here we go.
You have people that are very nosy to know about everybody's business. They're always going there. They want to know everybody's business. But when it comes to sharing their business, they want to keep it quiet.
Right.
They don't want to tell anybody anything. And then you find out from somewhere, oh, they're going on vacation for a day. How come they already went on vacation? They're already there? I just spoke to her yesterday. She's already in China, and I just spoke to her yesterday. She didn't even tell me she was going there. Right. And then you see pictures of her in a different country altogether. So devil's advocate, I think from that sense, people get annoyed. There are people that want to know everything about everybody, but themselves, very private. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to say that their kid is engaged after you find out from everybody else there's a wedding tomorrow. They don't want to say anything.
But think about it.
They have the rights.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
That tells me, I don't know. What does that tell me? I don't know. I don't want to start labeling things. It's better not to,
No, but think about it. Let's say they want to know about, maybe perhaps also, if you think about it, we are constantly measuring ourselves with other people, right? Like, let's think, for example, the age of getting married, right? When is the right age of getting married? Now, culturally, what's right in our circles, a girl, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, great age. 29, 30, 35, wait, that's so old, right? But hang on, in the world, that's actually pretty young, right? But because within our circles, we want to know, are we matching up? Are we equaling one another, or are we less than in any way? So perhaps that person that you're talking about who's asking all these questions, honestly, that sounds like an anxious person. An anxious person that wants to know, am I good enough? Is my family on the same level, or am I less than? And then she's being secretive and not sharing any information because possibly, maybe, she's anxious that if she does say, it might get messed up and she has to deal with, all of that baggage afterwards.
Maybe.
So
or they're just simply nosy.
Here's the thing, I don't know. I like to take it a step deeper. I really think that
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
No. I hear. I'm just saying, people are complex. And sometimes the people who might look nosy, or the people who might look jealous, or the people who might look lazy, there's something else going on there. I know growing up, a lot of the times we just throw out these labels, and certain labels were thrown onto you. But it's interesting because I share this with my clients a lot of the times. I personally never met, and I've been in practice for about already 10 years. I never met, well, especially when parents say, I think my son or my daughter, I think they're lazy. I never met a person who was actually lazy in my practice. Do you know that? Never. It was all the time, every single time, when we actually investigated and looked deeper, what's going on, something is getting in the way. Naturally, a healthy brain will not want to behave the way they're behaving. Maybe there's depression in the mix. When a person is depressed, they act completely numb and completely shut down from the world around them, and they might look lazy, they might look like they don't want to do anything and they don't care about anything, but maybe they have mental illness. You know, you can't always see depression outright like the way it is. When we think about depression, we think, oh, you're under the covers and crying in a dark room. Not necessarily. There are plenty of people who are smiling and have, you know, a big smile on their face, but they're depressed or anxious. People that you may know. So if there's any takeaway that we can get from this live, I would just really say, firstly, Yocheved, thank you so much for giving me that call. What an honor to be here with you guys today. But really, it's just like, let's be a little bit more sensitive to one another. Let's just, you know, and really just try our best. That if, you know, even for yourself, to be sensitive to one another, but even be nice to yourself too. Be kind to yourself as well, because to be honest, we have the #1 critic living in our head.
Yep.
So, what are some of our comments?
Well, a few minutes for comments. I know it takes time to type. Esther, first of all, she said they're secretly competing. I think that's another thing.
That's what I was talking about. They're secretly competing. This is why they're constantly seeing, am I measuring up? Are we on the same...
Oh, she wants to join the video.
Oh, let her join. Esther, join.
Hold on. Join, accept, add. This better work, Esther. This better work.
It's adding.
We need to get Esther
here. Here we go.
It should be interesting at the end of the live.
What's
Esther,
up, people?
Mrs. Hollywood, how are you doing today? I don't see you.
How are you guys?
But you know, if you're gonna join this live, you know you can only do it in Kamala's voice. You know that, right?
Listen to me. Everyone is sleeping. I can't be so loud. All right, but I come from a middle-class family. All right, ever since I lost the election, that's all I've been doing is secretly competing with people. You know, I don't even want to admit it, but here we are. Here we are. I can't even lose graciously. Now people are feeling sorry for Joe Biden. Are you hearing this? I get nothing. I get nothing.
All right. So what are your thoughts about our 2 cents? We want to hear it.
I was just, listening, still finishing my 9 to 5 because I'm doing all this other stuff during the day where I should be doing my job. But, you know, there's a lot to unpack about what you said. I know that Yocheved, you're very well versed in all of this. I know you were just playing devil's advocate, but there's so much that I can say from my own personal experience and just being able to talk to other friends. And I'll give like a small example, something that's probably very relatable. Somebody that has in-laws, for example, that are just not like, you know, there's a disconnect for whatever reason. There's a lot of hypocrisy. Let's say, for example, a mother-in-law will have a daughter and a son. And for some reason, she treats the daughter-in-law very different from her daughter. Okay, there is obviously a very big disconnect over here. The same exact way she'll treat her son, very different from the way she treats her son-in-law. And I think that the reason why that happens is, first of all, number one is ego. And number two, there's like been situations, right, where a friend will tell me like, my mother-in-law said this, she always tries something, she always has like a padyopka, or she says something underhanded, you know, like she just says things that are meant to bother me. Why is her intention to hurt me? Why is her thing like this? And just with age, just with, you know, being observant, seeing my own mother, my own aunts, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff that our own age community are repeating, these generational curses, I like to call them. They really do repeat them with their own kids. Like they sit there as they're telling me, like, oh, my mother-in-law thinks that my husband is so amazing. And in the same breath, their son will run out of the room, complete disaster, makes a mess, hurts the sister. And, oh, mój synoczek, oh, he's the most perfect thing in the world. There's no way that he did something wrong. And I'm like, do you not see what you just did? Because the same way you're raising your child, believe it or not, your mother-in-law's probably thinking that her son is this amazing golden thing. And there's a few reasons why we do this. The son can be atrocious and the mother will still see him as an amazing or whatever. Why? Number one, because to admit that your child is not star-spangled, awesome, and perfect is to admit that you as a mother didn't do something to make them that perfect. So, без причины наш народ любит хвалить своих детей. You know, if I come on here, I'm going to start hurting feelings. I'm just saying how it is. Без причины. That's the one reason. The second thing is, you have to feel sorry for some of these women and men who are so angry at their daughter-in-laws or their son-in-laws. And why? Is because this is all untreated trauma. I've spoken to so many women and I've heard so many conversations where they actually say the words like, через чего мы проходили, это еще nothing. Like, you need to pay your dues, basically. And you see this everywhere. You actually even see it in even in the Hollywood industry, even in the hospital setting. I had my preceptor who's supposed to be protecting me like a mother and teaching me and showing me everything. She actually started eating me alive towards the end of my preceptorship. I'm like, why are you feeding me to the doctors? Like, why are you all of a sudden, you don't know what I went through 20 years ago. I went through hell and back. This is the rite of passage. You must now suffer like I have suffered. You know how many people in our community have that kind of mentality? Especially from the in-laws perspective. They say, я куры чистила, ты что будешь здесь делать? Все будет с тобой нормально. I don't care if you're 9 months pregnant. I was pushing out a baby and making oshtoki back in Russia. So you're nothing compared to me. And it's true. The amount of trauma that our поколение, like our, it's an older поколение went through, they come here with like serious survival skills. And now that they're ready to pass the buck and their own kids are getting married, that stuff, that trauma that they went through, it doesn't go away. It starts getting unpacked into the new kelinka that comes into the house or to the new son-in-law that comes into the house, where immediately becomes compare and contrast. Как мы жили, как они живут. Мы в кишлаке жили. Ты в доме живешь. What are you complaining about? No, that's not the reality, because они в доме живут, but they're in their late 20s. They have mortgage payments to think about. Back in Russia, I will say, yes, their life was hard, but sometimes I'll talk to my mother about this and I say, you're not understanding the things we struggle with. You didn't have social media. You had a dvor, a community dvor, mind you, where you didn't care if your kids ran out the backyard because they were going to play with the community kids, and all the grandmothers were home, all the mother-in-laws and the moms were helping. It was a village raising these children. That's exactly why they were able to have so many. Иди на улицу, don't come back until the sun goes down. Иди играйся на улицу. We don't have that now. We have to be full-time entertainers for our children. We have to think about bullying, okay? It's not the usual, you look at someone the wrong way, you get punched in the nose, you learn your lesson. No, we have online bullying now, which is by far much worse. Okay, getting a physical beatdown, it doesn't hurt as much as getting your insecurities torn apart. I mean, we've had teens kill themselves. How many teens killed themselves since social media started, right? So we have all of this trauma that is not visited. And that's why I always say, like, it's important to break down those curses, because and I'll tell you, I have a friend, of course, I'm not going to say names, of course, but she had a really, really bad, like, I'm talking about their shalom bayit was so affected by the issues that they had with the in-laws. I had a couple of conversations with her. She's in therapy, thank God. But do you know when her entire thing shifted? Is when we made her realize the combination of our talks, the combination of therapy, when that actually clicked in her head that she should start feeling sorry for her mother-in-law and maybe start praying for her. Because I told her, are you and your husband going on vacation this year? She's like, yeah, we're going at the end of the year. I'm like, yeah, you mentioned your mother-in-law never went on vacation. How must that have felt for a woman back then? How does that feel? My own parents, they didn't go on vacation. It's just not a luxury that everybody could have had. Normal, that's fine. We were in survival mode. But эта обида, она может очень сильно оставаться. And unfortunately, from anger and repressed anger, especially repressed, I want to say, because a lot of issues were not communicated. Whatever relationships they had with their in-laws, they were just forced to shut their mouths and be quiet. And it just went alongside both ways. But here, you have communication, you have therapy, you have avenues that you can actually visit to try to fix these problems. So when she started actually looking at her mother-in-law from a different lens, a totally different lens, it wasn't like, why is she out to get me? She realized that her mother-in-law was projecting all of her insecurities, all of the pain she ever went through. She was projecting it right onto her. Everything she went through, she convinced herself, like, this is the way it should be. You have to go through this to become a mother and to become successful when you're marrying off your own kids. You have to go through this pain. So that huge disconnect, especially from the Malajosh, they don't understand why this side is so upset. And the older side feels, why are you so ungrateful? You have no idea how easy you have it. No, that's not true. You had it difficult in some ways. We have it difficult in very, very different ways today. Okay, especially financially, especially with the online world, especially with, just the way politics affects us. It's a different set of problems. It's a different generation. One does not have to, even that we're competing. У нас было трудно. And I'm guilty of this myself. My kids, they lay down because they get tired after a task. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm tired. From what? I'm like, do you have any idea what your mother does all day? Like I'm in the middle of two careers, and then I stop myself. I'm like, wait, I'm not comparing and contrasting. Why do I have to sit here and try to one up my kid? А ты что делаешь весь день? Я это делала, я сготовила, я еще папе носки погладила because he likes this. Я еще это, I went grocery shopping. It's not supposed to be like that. And we end up taking, doing those, like that bad karma, those generational curses, they continue to overflow through us. We're the ones that can like stop it and say, listen, there's a disconnect in our marriage. Maybe we need to take a date night. I had an issue with my in-laws. Maybe I need to sit down and speak with her about it, not just sit here and repress. Let's talk to each other about how it makes us
So
feel.
the beginning,
Open the dialogue.
sorry, I said the beginning. You missed the beginning. Yeah, I wish you said this in the beginning. Can you? Oh, she's talking. Can you?
No, I'm listening to you.
Oh, sorry. In the beginning, we actually addressed this particular topic where the questions that were coming was more about why do we use social media as a way to put people down? Why do we no longer communicate? Why do we no longer pick up the phone? So what you're saying right now is actually pertaining to those questions that we addressed in the beginning, where we were saying with Avi the importance of communication, the importance of doing something with the proper intention behind, that it should come from a good place and not a place of trying to insult someone, belittle someone, put someone down. That's where it becomes a problem. But your point, Esther, they're 100% so valid. I wish you joined us from the beginning, but I want you to stay on here for a few more minutes. It's very late. It's 11:30 New York time. For those of you watching us in different states, it's still early by you.
The night is
Obviously,
young. The night is young. You have it. Excuse me. The night is very. Yeah, we start drinking at 1 a.m. over here.
Before we let Esther go, Avi go, myself go, please, few minutes. Anybody have any questions? It's hard to get us all three on the same platform, which is, I'm so happy we're able to do that. If you have any last minute comments, last minute questions. By the way, as I'm sitting here right now, Avi, I like this. I think we should have like a weekly. We should do this weekly, and then we have like, you see how Esther just joined us remotely?
I love that.
We should just have this like weekly.
I was just
thing.
listening. I'm working. Look, guys. This is how transparent I am. You see, I'm just folded all the laundry. I'm doing my 9 to 5. This is the life of a content creator, ladies and gentlemen. This is not. That's not easy stuff. So I'm awake.
And that's it's interesting. That's kind of what people are attracted to now. Years ago, when Instagram and Facebook just came out, there was like that perfect highlight reel. Now we see, based on the algorithm, nobody likes that. Everybody likes this, the realness, the rawness.
No, COVID actually changed the entire game. When COVID came out and TikTok made its huge debut, authenticity absolutely replaced everything that we were seeing. The aesthetic, I mean, yeah, that's still beautiful and that's still nice. But part of my brand is to look like absolute hot garbage when I'm pressing record. That's part of my brand because this is what I look like all the time. I don't have time to sit here and do makeup and hair and all that stuff. So I'm like, you either get me like this or you get nothing. And it's part of the but like I love that. I love the authenticity that social media can bring. And I don't care. You can judge me. I'm sure tomorrow I'll have a comment like, "Oh, I saw your red underwear on the bed." Okay, whatever. I don't care.
I can't
But
believe
yeah.
stuff like that happens to you. People don't give you hate. Come on.
No, I mean, listen. The Jewish hatred is what I've been getting most of, unfortunately. When I'm vocal about Israel, I do have death threats and all that stuff. But not to worry. I don't take it personally. Meaning, like, I don't waste my time even paying attention to it. But from more or less from our community, it's more or less more support. I won't sit here and focus on the negative, but it's more support, of
We
course.
love you. Thanks for always bringing us up and standing up for us, and you're really doing the right thing because it's not easy to have a strong voice. So we really applaud you.
Keep it up, you guys. And I'm always like, I always try to tune in. I always try to listen, but you should totally have a guest just jump on randomly.
It's very nice.
Let's do weekly calls, right? Random.
That's a lot of fun. So
let's do it.
Guys, I just want to say for all of you who are watching, I truly appreciate, like Esther was saying, she gets a lot of support. I'm very grateful that I get support. I'm sure Avi gets support as well. And this is how it should be as a community as a whole. When we support each other, we have people who become more confident. They start shining. They start allowing our kids to shine because our children see their parents that they're growing and they're advancing themselves. That gives our children some strength to also want to grow in life. So when we start putting each other down, embarrassing, insulting, what are we really doing? We're trying to show that we're superior. It doesn't look nice. It's not pretty at all. Let's focus on a mentality of support one another and love one another. It says over here quickly how to deal with the younger generation in their 20s that think that we are old school, even though we are in our 40s and 50s. Who wants to take that question?
I
was
would say
cool.
like find a common activity that all of you guys would actually love. Like me, I'm still a little kid, so this doesn't pertain to me because my kids actually like hanging out with me. But when it comes to like just us doing like an activity as a family, we've learned that it has to be something that everybody likes. So if it's like 20-year-olds, I don't know, go have a game night at Dave and Buster's, go to a nice like restaurant after. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not the one to take this call, but I would say common interest and try to have like a one-on-one with them and tell them about how when you were younger and you were 20, what you were doing. And yeah, I would just say like just common interests. But it's true. My kid, I'm 36. My kid is like, Mom, were you born in the 1900s? I'm like, what? Don't ever repeat that crap again. What are you talking about? Yes, I was born in the 1900s, but you don't say it like that. I was born in the end.
I would answer it because I have a bigger kid. So just because I have something similar, the way so I understand where this question is coming from. I think I understand. Whoever, I forgot the name of the person who asked. What they mean is like this. Like I, for example, tell my child how important it is to go to college, how important it is to go to school, how important it is to get an education, and then they come back and say, "Oh, come on, that's so you don't really need college to be successful anymore. There are plenty of people that are not in college and they're so successful. Are you telling me that you went to school and you have a degree that you're so rich? You're struggling financially." I think it's coming from a point, from that perspective, where they think they really figured everything out about life and they understand everything and who are like, what do we know? I think it's coming from that aspect.
If I go ahead,
right?
go ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
Possibly, yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think if it's coming from that aspect, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge as parents when you're trying to really instill in your children what you think is important based on your experiences. All right, because some things are still going to be the same. Raising kids is still the same. Being a wife, a husband, some things don't change. It's not considered old-fashioned. Just doesn't change. We have the same responsibilities. And when you instill that in your children and they keep arguing with you that they know best and you don't know anything because you're old-fashioned, you just have to, as a parent, be understanding, but at the same time, I still stay strong on my belief. I still say, yes, you're right. There are plenty of ways to make money. However, I always think it's good to have that degree. You can never use it in your life. Hang it up on the wall. Let it sit there somewhere in your closet. But I'm from that mentality, meaning I still try to share my values because that's what's important for me. But that's where I think this question was coming from. What do you think?
I think that here's the thing. The most important thing to focus on is the age. You asked about a 20-year-old. A 20-year-old is not a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, right? They're in a very different place developmentally. So the parenting that you would use when they were really young is really out the window when they're 20. At 20 years old, there definitely has to be a very different way that you engage with them. It's not you do this because I told you so and you're stupid and dumb and you're an idiot and you're no good because you're not listening to me. Really, at this time, it's about opening up a space where you can hear them out. Yes, sometimes they could be lost. Sometimes they could be struggling. But if you're telling them instead of helping them figure it out together, they're just going to resent you for it. Even if they do what you say, they will still be able to, a part of the 20-year-olds will feel resentful towards you if that's not what aligns with them. Because in reality, at this specific age, it's really about being emotionally available to create a safe space to hear them out and give them guidance if they ask. That's my 2 cents for this because, in all honesty, even though in the past it was, I'm older than you, you need to listen to me. But in all honesty, a lot of the younger generations, like you said before, many young kids in their mid-20s are making a lot more money than their 60-year-old parents.
That's the argument.
You understand? So, or even, years before.
But that comes with the issue that she says, and this is just to add to your conversation, that comes with an issue because if that's the point of where the question comes from, then that's the issue that a bunch of kids that are 25, 26 making a lot of money and everyone that sees them is like, I want to do that instead of go to school. And it creates a huge problem. I've seen it across the board with like older like kids that are cousins, dropped out of college, did it. And I will say, if there is any young people listening, almost every single one of them ended up doing something like barbering and then realized, which is fine, it's a great job, but as a young kid's perspective, they realize, yo, this is hard work.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was going to be this tiring. And then the realization comes of like, yo, what did you think this was going to be? Not only are you working like a dog on your feet 10, 11 hours a day. There is no retirement fund. There is no backup plan. It's like you're going to work and that's that. So it's going to be, because they
I mean,
end up in these kinds of
but
positions.
at the same time, nursing isn't any easier. Nursing is one of the
But
hardest
it's a
fields,
different
right?
hard.
It's a different
It's a
hard,
different
right.
Yeah.
It's
One is hard where you're standing on your feet with physical labor, and there's and one is
But
hard where yes,
I
you
agree with
need
Yoheved's value, and I say the same thing to my kid. I lead as example. You see, I didn't leave my job, and full transparency, simply because social media is not consistent. I have a mortgage, I have bills, I have kids. I cannot drop everything and just go on the road and hope for the best. Like me personally, I'd rather have the stability.
right.
Some people have asked me, what do you think I should do? Should I do like schooling? I really want to start my own business. You know what my advice is? I'm like, it's going to take longer. This might not be the advice everyone wants to hear, but I would absolutely go for the degree and do whatever you want on the side. And until the side hustle does not outperform the degree you'll always have as a backup.
Right.
But until the side hustle does not outperform the degree, you are not going to be able to do anything feeling safe. I say this with an open heart. Like that's just my personal hot take on this, because I think that to be really successful, you have to have, like multiple skills or multiple ways of how you can make money. At the end of the day, nursing, great career, very, very, very difficult to be on your feet or whatever it is, or very tedious. Like I'm in administration, I left patient care, but it's hard to read all of this. So for the younger generation, it's very hard when they have the glitz and glamour of social media showing them that they can be millionaires in Dubai at 21 years old by doing drop shipping or by doing this or by doing that. And the girls, sadly, we have a very big OnlyFans epidemic that I always say to the American part of, society. But unfortunately, there are girls in the community, in the Bahrain community, that are already on OnlyFans, sadly. But that's because it's easy
I
money.
haven't heard of
what
that
did you
before.
say? I
I'll
didn't hear the
send
word.
you the profiles, my friend. I don't know if I should, but
Okay. Do you know what OnlyFans is?
OnlyFans?
Yeah. Do
oh,
you
you'll
want
have it, you'll have it, you'll have it, you'll have it. Do I need to be the one to pop the cherry on this conversation? It's a horrible website, you'll have it.
what
What is it?
what a choice of words, Esther.
I don't know any other way.
Why you're gonna have
OnlyFans is OnlyFans is like social media, but you're selling pictures of yourself naked, and there's a whole. It's like I'm talking about millionaires. These girls became millionaires.
It's a private page where you have fans who pay money
They
to see
subscribe.
your.
is it in our communities? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sad. Actually, to touch, I was actually going to say
Yes.
before you make that comment, if anybody's watching an organization, please, we really need to create workshops, lectures. We got to attract the young generation, teenagers, young adults. Like, who's speaking to them? Here we are on Facebook, and people are watching, but this is not the group that needs to hear this.
I know.
This is the people that need to hear this are not hearing this. They're not sitting here and watching it. These organizations have to come out. We really are going to lose our youth if we don't instill on them what the real meaning of life and values and ethics are. And we don't see enough of that in the community. So I really hope somebody who's watching has to please organize things for our young generation. Please.
Also, I would say, we're talking a lot also in very general terms. So, parents, if you're watching this and you think like, oh, whatever I heard, I'm going to apply it to my kid, but maybe your kid is dealing with something else, more specific. Yes, we're speaking in general terms, but your child might be going through something on a more specific level. So if you see something doesn't seem right and your kid is having a struggle, don't bash them, don't put them down, don't hurt them because they're struggling. So you want to get them the help that they need to really get to a better place. And they can with the right guidance, they can.
Wow. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. This was a very, very long live, longer than I anticipated, but it was so well worth it. If you find this live helpful, and I know we have addressed many important aspects here, please share it with others. Really looking forward to doing a part 2. I have other questions that we haven't even touched on. Esther, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you
Really added a
for
special
accepting my
pepper on the
request. I
top.
missed your faces.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Good to
much.
see you, Esther. And
It was
hopefully
great
we'll
to see
do
you,
something
Avi.
else.
We're going to read every comment. We may not
Yes.
have time to answer everybody, but we definitely see all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great night,
Thank you
everybody.
guys for
Good
having
night.
me.
Good night.
Great work as usual.
Bye-bye.